Hello, what a difference a day makes. So I'm at the same spot as I was yesterday with all the clouds, and you can probably see behind me there's pretty much not a cloud in the sky. So I wanted to continue my chat on clouds and wanted to show you a couple of things. So if you can just see behind me there, I'm not sure if you can see that. Just behind me there's a tiny little cloud. That is what I was talking about with stratus clouds. They're small, there's not much to them, they're just kind of small clouds. That's stratus, low level. So the story that I want to tell you, and this is what I want to bring back to the clouds, about 7-8 years ago I went on an exercise to Kenya with the Air Force. We were there for 6 weeks, and where we were staying was called Laikipia Air Base. Now it was kind of in the middle of nowhere. It was just on the edge of the African plains, genuinely about 2-3 miles away. It was like wild lions, elephants. Great experience, really enjoyed it. One of the things we used to do, and I'm kind of sidebar now, it's nothing really to do with clouds. We used to get up every morning to, hi Alex, good to see you. We used to get up every morning, and the ranges that we're going to use was literally just the middle of the savannah, so I had to get up in the morning and clear the ranges in a helicopter. And what the pilots would do is they'd literally just fly the helicopter. Oh, hey Justin, hey Chad. They'd fly the helicopter along the range and hover, and we'd have to sort of hang out the door, and we'd chase giraffes, you'd chase lions, hyenas, you'd chase all sorts off the range. It was brilliant. Free heli safari was paid for by taxpayer. Great. Anyway, I digress. So every day we'd go and do what we had to do in this exercise, and then at night where we were staying, it was called Nanyuki Showground, and as the name suggests, it was exactly that. It was a showground. It was for animals, cattle, and we were staying literally in a cattle shed. Hey Samuel, we were staying in a cattle shed, and so the only niceness that we had off this Nanyuki Showground, there was, hey Nick, there was a tiny little golf course, and we'd sit in the golf course at night and we'd have a beer. Now the view for this golf course was amazing. It was just phenomenal. And one of the things that we found on the golf course is when we looked out, we looked onto Mount Kenya. Now for any of you that have been in Africa, that have seen anything out of that neck of the woods, it is spectacular. And every night, if we could, we'd get there at the showground, at the golf course, we'd have a beer, and we'll have what we call sundowners. And as the name suggests, we'll wait for the sun to go down and watch all the beautiful colours, all the shadows and everything on Mount Kenya. And occasionally we'd go there for breakfast and we'd have sun-uppers. Not beer, unfortunately, it was coffee. But one of the things that we noticed is every single day we ended up with cloud being formed on one side of the mountain. Now this always confused me, and I'd asked quite a few of the guys, said, what's caused this? Why is it happening? I need to know. Now, never got an answer, and I started really niggling at me, and like internally in my head, I couldn't make sense of this. I went through all these theories, and I was trying to work it out. I was starting to feel quite stupid actually, and it was really beginning to annoy me. And a lot of the guys then started winding me up about it and asking me why I was so stupid. I didn't know something as simple as why clouds were formed. That's really started eating me up. So internally I was getting really pissed about this. Externally I laughed it off. I was like, yeah, fine, yeah, it's just clouds. But it really bugged me. So I kept going with this, and no matter how many people I asked, it was almost like there was a wall up. I couldn't literally find an answer to this. So I came up with a plan. I was going to speak to anyone that had any idea about meteorology and see what I could find out. Now, the internet in Kenya is not the best. It's kind of dial-up speeds. So I tried on Google, and eventually, after working this plan for a while, I found an answer. And the answer is, and if you look over at these hills, I don't know if you can see those, is that? Yeah, good, you can see it. So you can see these clouds that are just on this side of the hills for some reason. Quite spectacular, and this is what happened in Mount Kenya. So I found an answer, and it's called something, or there's something called the phone effect. Hey Jeremy, good to see you. So it's something called the phone effect. Now, this was an achievement for me. I found out what it was, but this wasn't good enough. So I decided I was going to have a mass transformation for everyone that was in this detachment for me. I was going to let everybody know about the phone effect and why it happens. So the phone effect, and it's spelled F-O-H-N, not P-H-O-N-E. So this happens, and this is what I'm sharing with you now, so you can have this transformation, and when you're sitting out in the countryside, camping, hunting or hiking, you can dazzle people with this knowledge. So if I go back to looking at these hills again, so if you look, and you can see the clouds are only on one side, so what's happening is, the wind is coming up the back side of the hill, it's pushing all the air up. Now because it's pushing against the hill, it compresses that air. So the air pressure increases slightly. And we're not talking like 200 millibars, we're probably talking maybe 4, 5, 6, maybe up to 10 millibars. Not a huge pressure difference. But what happens is, this pressure increases, it forces this air to go up the hill, and when it gets to the top of the hill, when it's got all this space again, it kind of opens out. The pressure drops, and it drops really quick. When that pressure drops, it means that condensation forms because the air cools down really quickly, and that is how you get clouds on one side of a hill like this. Now, to try and demonstrate this, here there's a really simple concept that I can use for this. When you were a child and you were out on your bike, and say you had a puncture, you fixed your puncture, and then you had to get your little hand pump out, one of these little crappy things that you had to pump up. It took you about a month to do it. It was just terrible. Well, when you pump this up, if you're really quick at this as a kid and you were having competitions like yourself, like I used to, and you felt the nozzle that attached to the valve, you'd feel it was really quite hot, and sometimes too hot to touch. That's kind of the opposite of the phone effect. So when I said at the bottom of the hill, when the air's coming up, it gets compressed. When you compress air, it gets hot and it gets warm. That is exactly what happens when you're pumping your tyre up. The opposite is also true. So if ever you've been walking between tall buildings, say you may be walking down the side of your house, at the front of the house the temperature might be, let's say, 80 degrees. The air has been channeled, it gets compressed, so the walkway between the two houses, the air, rather than being 70, 80 degrees, might jump 1 or 2 degrees because it gets compressed. When you get to the other end and you come out and the wind becomes less, you'll feel it slightly cooler, and that's because the air temperature has dropped, because the compression in the air has disappeared. And that's exactly what happens. So that's why you get this beautiful effect on one side of a hill called the phone effect, F-O-H-N. So I hope you've learnt something today. I hope you've liked that. And I was hoping to find some lenticularis clouds today, but there's not a cloud in the sky pretty much, other than what you've got over the hills. So there endeth today's lesson. I hope you got something from that, and if nothing else, when it comes to the next pub quiz, you have got some useless knowledge that's in your head that you can hopefully use and dazzle all your friends with your wonderful knowledge about clouds. And there endeth today's lesson. Bye!